This is the site of Craigmill on the Cestwick Water, in between Kilmarnock and Mauchline. This had been the barony mill of the Barony of Haining-Ross. Its main claim to fame is in around 1717, John Goudie, sometimes called Goldie, was born here. His parents and his ancestors had been the millers here for many years before. Now John Goudie, later known as the Terror of the Whigs by Robert Burns, Whigs in Scotland at that time meant people who were strict Presbyterian, so those who were unbending fundamentalists. John Goudie, although brought up without any real education, taught himself a whole range of different sciences, became a philosopher, and around about the age of 15 he built down here a miniature mill large enough to grind corn, of a new design that was so efficient that Mr. Kelly of nearby Cestwick Castle brought the Earl of Marchmont down here, who was again so impressed that he gave a sum of money to John Goudie to buy a iron spindle for the wheel itself. John grew bored with this tranquil and rural location and decided to become a cabinet maker, self-taught. He moved into Kilmarnock and proceeded to produce a clock case of such artistry, such fine work, that nobody locally could afford it. It came to the notice of the Duke of Hamilton, and the Duke came, saw it, purchased it, and placed it in Hamilton Palace. John decided he needed more time for his studies, so his next step, with the money that he'd earned, he became a wine merchant in Kilmarnock. And as a wine merchant, it was at this point that he met Robert Burns. And one of his most greatest contributions to Burnsiana is that he was instrumental in assuring that the first edition of Robert Burns's poems were published. He got together the local bigwigs, the local people with influence, and having read some of his poems to these VIPs, they agreed to help with the publishing costs. Burns, in fact, used John Goudie's house in Kilmarnock for reviewing his poems, and spent a lot of time there in the company of John Goudie.